Welcome to Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater. Issues and Answers is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. And now, Issues and Answers with your host, Diane Kinderwater.
Welcome to the program. I'm Diane Kinderwater. If you ask a lot of people, they had a lot more money and time, what would they do? Well, they'd probably travel the world. Have you thought of that? Have your friends and neighbors told you they'd like to do that if they had more time and money? Of course, you'd like to go experience the world, see different cultures, different food, different architecture, different climates, except ours is probably one of the best in the world right here in New Mexico. But see the world. Well, we all have that dream, but what about the world coming to us? Well, the world does. Emerging leaders from across the world have been coming to Albuquerque for years now. And this is the first time on Issues and Answers we're going to introduce you to Global Ties and its mission to bring these leaders here to learn all about us in our way and our technology and our businesses so they can bring this information back to their homes. And then when you have the time and money, you can go find out what they learned about us when you go back to visit them. So please stay with us as we have a joyful time learning about these world leaders who are all coming to New Mexico. Maybe you've met them. If you haven't, you're going to learn about them and Global Ties right after this. Stay with us. People like to say they have sightings of different celebrities, perhaps in Santa Fe or Albuquerque. Oh, I saw that movie star, I saw this movie star. Well, what you perhaps see on the streets, but you don't realize it, would be leaders from across the globe who are here in Albuquerque. You may see them and not even know who they are, but we're going to learn about them right now as we introduce you to my guest today. And we appreciate you being the Executive Director of Global Ties, Melora Palmer, for 2 years now, but involved with the program for more than that. Mm-hmm. And you are a worldwide, not just traveler, but a liver, has lived across the globe, but has made her home here in Albuquerque. And her job is to bring people into Albuquerque to learn about us. Great. Welcome. Thank you so much for being a part of the program today. And we're going to do a two-part series with Melora because there's so much to talk about, so many interesting stories and things that you might see in the street but you don't recognize. Right. So morning. Tell me a little bit about Global Ties and your mission.
Great. We are Global Ties ABQ, and we are part of a national network. Most of them are also referred to as Global Ties, but some of them have other names. And we support or we host professional exchange programs. The majority of our programs are funded by the U.S. Department of State, and our key program is called the International Visitor Leadership Program, which is a program that was started by Roosevelt back in the 40s. And the whole idea was, how do you build peace and prosperity, but by sharing your best practices and your ways of life with other leaders in other countries. We actually, as an organization, started as all volunteer in 1963 to host some of these leaders as they came into the United States and in Albuquerque.
Into Albuquerque as early as 1963 here as well.
Yeah, it was all volunteer. It was just a couple, and I don't think we had large groups coming in. I do have some pictures from long, long ago. And then over time, we kind of evolved, became an all-volunteer organization. And at some point at the federal level, actually through JFK, he started the National Council for International Visitors.
The National Council for
International Visitors.
Now, John F. Kennedy was well known for starting the Peace Corps.
Yes.
So is this a branch of that or similar?
It was part of that initiative, Peace Corps. And the whole idea was, if these emerging leaders are coming to the United States for professional exchange, and to keep in mind this is short-term professional exchange, they're usually in the States for a total of about 3 weeks, 3-4 weeks, and they'll be with us for anywhere from 3 to 5 days. But Kennedy's idea was, just like with the Peace Corps, is how do you build peace and prosperity and cooperation between peoples, but knowing each other one-on-one. So the idea was, since we are already bringing in these leaders for professional exchange, let's have them meet with Americans and have dinner with them, share time with them. So that's the second layer of what we do.
But the first one is the professional exchange.
Yes.
Again, opening up, because not part of this program, but Americans go to other countries and
Yes.
learn about their best practices. But then we've opened up our borders, opened up our doors, opened up our states, our cities to emerging leaders.
Right.
What's an emerging leader?
An emerging leader is going to be anyone that is in a position of influence within a particular sector within their country. So to give you an example specifically of the International Visitor Leadership Program, I'm going to refer to it as IVLP. That's drilled in my head. With IVLP, there have actually been 500 current and future heads, or current and present heads of state that came to the U.S. under this program.
500.
Such as Anwar Sadat, Tony Blair, Indira Gandhi, Nicolas Sarkozy, President of Japan, the woman president of Brazil, all came to the United States for the first time under this program. And I have heard rumor that Tony Blair was in Albuquerque sometime in the 1980s. So the whole idea is...
Could some of these other leaders who you mentioned, could they have been in
They
Albuquerque?
might have been.
They might
I
have
don't
been
know.
because they don't only go to one city. They don't only go to New
Yeah,
York City
right.
or Los Angeles. They come
Yes.
over their 3 to 5
Exactly.
week visit to Albuquerque. So some
Yeah.
of them may have come here as well.
Yeah.
And these are prior to them becoming the leader.
Yes.
They were emerging leaders.
Right.
And they mainly came not to learn about government, but to learn about their particular expertise in business.
Yes.
Mainly.
So to explain how it works, it's the State Department that puts together the programs, and they're going to be based, the subjects are going to be based on whatever the current administration's foreign policy goals are. So historically, we've seen a lot on enterprise development, some on human and civil rights. Now we're seeing a little bit on energy independence, a lot more on entrepreneurship and involvement, youth and community, et cetera. But these subjects are put together based on whatever the current administration's foreign policy objectives are. Then it will go to our ambassadors around the world who will vet the participants. So anyone that comes has to be fully vetted and basically recommended by a consulate somewhere in the United States where we have an embassy.
So as an example, you said maybe energy independence,
Yes.
something that, of course, here in New Mexico, we are blessed with so much energy. And the current administration is interested in continuing to make America energy independent.
Yes.
So now this is this administration's kind of goal. So with the State Department, they're contacting the various ambassadors across the country, perhaps, I'm not sure if Venezuela is one of them, but let's say in the Middle East, and saying, you know what, if you want to learn our best practices, they're offering our best practices
Yes.
to these other
Yeah.
countries.
Yeah.
And the whole, and I'm thinking, I'm not one to share like that. But in the idea of what, world peace, to be doing this?
Yeah, so that's the whole idea. And then the program goes down to what's called a national programming agency that's based in DC. They will actually put together the program with the objectives, get the visas, take care of the travel, and then they put it in a roster and farm it out to me. We're called a community-based member, of which there's about 80 of us, various cities in the country. We put a proposal and we say, here's what we do with this group if they were to come to Albuquerque. So depending on what our resources are, what we can recommend, we get picked or not. Then that group will come to DC. They're usually in DC for a week, and then 2 or 3 other cities, depending on, you know, what are the, when I call resources, it's basically people they can meet with to talk about that particular subject. So if we get awarded the team, or the project, our job is then to create meetings with these various resources on that particular subject.
Oh.
And the thing that's been really fun about this job is to see the depth of capacity and expertise that we have right here in Albuquerque, and no matter what subject. I mean, really bright people, you know, with the UNM rainforest. There's just all kinds of, and UNM and our research, Sandia, but even in things such as gender-based violence, you know, combating that and other sources, we really have, we kind of fly under the radar, but Albuquerque has a lot of really tremendous expertise. And that's been really wonderful to learn about this city.
Thank you. I want to
Yeah.
hear more about
Yeah.
that, truly, Mallory, because you then did the research to find out. Let's say it's gender-based violence. Of course, in Africa, there's a lot of, around the world, there's a lot of that, of course, here in the United States as well. But once you find out what the topic is, then you start researching who the experts are. You
Yes.
personally, do you have a team who does this?
Well, I have a program officer who is absolutely marvelous at her job, but we do a lot of teamwork. She is doing such a great job. We are getting so many groups. I have 5 groups coming in this month, 4 in June, 3 so far in July. It's just been back to back, and there's only 2 of us. So yes, that's...
So we're selected.
Yes.
You created a program
Yes.
where New Mexico, Albuquerque was selected.
Exactly. So our role then would be, yes, contacting all of those resources and setting up meetings. Many times we've already worked with them before and they're very open to us. And I think one thing we really hear from these, we call them delegates that come, because they come to several cities. Overall, the feedback for Albuquerque is always so positive. And the number one thing they say is people are so open and friendly and willing to share. And it's always, we really are pinpointed as one of the more desirable places to go, not just because of our climate, but because just the openness of Burkinos.
But the desire to share, that's just
Yeah.
a little surprising, but towards the goal of world peace, but to
Yeah.
share,
And the
to
thing
make
that's
it a
been
better
so
world,
great is
because
for-
we may have
yeah.
expertise and knowledge that these other countries don't, but the idea to share, and hopefully there's
Yeah.
some program that has reciprocity,
Yes.
right?
Well, and the thing that's also so rewarding is every time we have these resources talk to our groups, it's always as equally positive for them as it was for the group that's coming in. Every time. This was a great group. I learned so much. Some of them have even made business contacts. There's one particular, we had a fellow, so there's several programs. There's IVLP as my key program. I also do some other fellowships, which are a little bit longer term stays, and another program that's funded by the Congress. And with some of our fellowships, they have created relationships that are still enduring now, not just personal, but professional relationships. There's one particular with a gentleman who was developing solar towers in Macedonia, North Macedonia. He came here, we connected him with a group in Sandia who's doing the same thing, and now he is providing certain products to Sandia that they were not able to source anywhere near the price where this guy, this young guy, he's 27 years old, building mirrors in his backyard, and he's now. And that's, so you can see there is a benefit on both sides, absolutely. And that's how you build peace and prosperity for all nations, is through cooperation and understanding and sharing.
So the program has endured since JFK days. That's a long...
Before that, since Roosevelt, 1940s.
That's a long
Yeah.
time.
Very long
Okay,
time.
let's get into a little bit about some of the cases,
Mm-hmm.
as much as you can share with us. Let's get some examples that we may be... I mean, you were surprised to find all this expertise here, but now you have an
Yeah.
opportunity to tell the viewers and tell the rest of the world,
Yeah.
because this program is streamed, and let people know about New Mexico and Albuquerque.
Well,
So-
just to give you an example, I just last week had a group in from Saudi Arabia. They were all young entrepreneurs doing social enterprises. And social enterprise is basically when you make a profit for good, that your profit goes to, is coming from and going towards a more charitable force. And it was, I think, about 18.
People from Saudi Arabia
Yeah, young
were here in
Saudis,
Albuquerque.
all from 20. I think the youngest one was 23. The oldest one was maybe 30. And so they met with...
18 of them.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
They were here for 4 days, and they met with WEST, WSST, that is the women, I forget what it stands for, but they basically are a incubator space for new businesses, predominantly a lot of social enterprises and women-based businesses.
And tell me what social enterprise, give me an example of what
Social enterprise would be, I have to actually look up the definition, but it has to do with where do your profits go, and how are you contributing? You know, what is your business doing? So a social enterprise would be someone that's working with women in developing countries to make sanitary napkins and then selling them. So that money would go to be funding what is essentially a charitable enterprise. So that's the difference between social enterprise. It's not just profit for profit, it is profit to benefit a social cause.
And so these folks coming from Saudi Arabia were interested in having more social enterprises in their country.
They've already started them. And they were here to look at how do we market them, how do we use AI, how do various companies and organizations here working in social enterprise or just in enterprise development how are they doing that? Where do they get their venture capital funding? Where do they, how do they use technology? How do they use social media?
And so you introduced them, you said, to an incubator, woman-run
incubator. We also
Tell me
had
a little bit about that.
I wasn't able to attend that, but basically, yes, I attended part of it. They basically met with a woman who has started a mushroom growing business, basically for edible mushrooms, like for consumption, like lion's mane and chestnut mushrooms and things like that, that she is selling in some local markets, but she also, her largest client base is restaurants. And so through West, she has a space where she was able to set up basically a farm. It's, you know, it's indoors, but it's a farm of growing mushrooms, and her whole business is there. And through that, learning how does she get access to venture capital to help fund her organization, how does she market her products. So she was able to meet with this group and explain, tell her her whole story. And we also had them meet with a local professional coach who also does a podcast basically on social enterprise development that talked a lot about again, venture capital, how do you get your word out there, how do you use social media to get more likes and generate more interest. And these, I call them kids because, you know.
Young adults.
Young adults. They just lapped it up, and they were so interactive and so curious, asking so many questions.
But we have a podcaster here in Albuquerque.
Yes.
Who does a podcast on social
Yes, social enterprise.
Yeah. How did you find him or her?
I actually know him. I had reached out to him for another group we had coming through. It was a fellowship from mostly Central European countries. It was like Slovenia, Austria, Switzerland, Kosovo, etc. And they were fellows, but same thing, young professionals who had created their own pretty much social enterprise groups. And they were here for a month to kind of share and develop and maybe even create networks here in the United States. And we've had some cases where, and I'll talk about that in a minute, some really wonderful examples of how that exchange has worked. But that's how I found Paul, was through that. And he was just dynamite, so warm and open and informational and willing to help, and just, I mean,
so
these meetings go fast.
Where did he meet with them? Did he meet with all 18 of the Saudi Arabians?
Yep.
At his location?
So it
or
really
at a restaurant?
depends. Usually we like them to go to whoever their resources are, if they have adequate facilities. Because it's more interesting for them, because you imagine if they're sitting in the same place and on a bus and whatever every day, it gets kind of tiring. If not, we have wonderful offices. We work out of the Heritage Ascent co-working space downtown in the Wafad Bank building. So we have a beautiful conference room that we can host them there if that's needed. Yeah.
And the sessions are just a couple hours?
Usually about an hour and a half, yeah, each time. So when they come, we usually have to do 2 or 3 meetings a day with them. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a lot of work.
For these
it's fun,
visitors,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
To go around. What other examples did the Saudi Arabians go to see?
I'm trying to think what else they went with. Of course, I took them on a couple cultural things while they're here. I took them to the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center. That's always a fun one. Also, they took the tram up. They actually organized to do a balloon ride on their own, so they went all the way up to Taos at 5 o'clock in the morning. And then I don't know if you know, but Windrock Park is doing free outdoor concerts on Fridays this summer, so I took them to that concert. It was country. They loved it. So
How is that? Because I've just read about it. I haven't gone to...
They're great. I've been to 2 now. It's really
but
quite...
Is there a little pond? Or
yeah, no, it's a little grassy spot right in the middle of... and they have a little little amphitheater, and it's nice because it's not huge. It feels more intimate. I think I could maybe get 500 people in there at the most. But the music was great. The sound system was wonderful. You have food trucks and really, and it's AMP concerts. Neil Copperman, who's doing the concerts, and he really does a lot of great international groups. So I guess he's partnered up with them this year, and so. If you guys haven't checked it out, there's going to be some really, really great concerts there every Friday night.
And it's right inside of Windrock or on the outside?
Right smack in the middle. They've built a park in the middle.
Yeah, that's what I've read about.
And it's right in there. It's quite lovely. I guess that's part of the mayor's initiatives to try and develop the uptown area.
But it's nice for you, another beautiful place to take people.
Yeah.
Actually, like a little oasis that they might be
It was
used
just fun
to.
for them because, it was
oasis.
outdoors, and they got a little slice of Americana. So it was They really had a
And they
fun
were
time.
here just about 3 or 4 days?
Yeah, they were here. They got here on a Thursday. Let's see, on a Wednesday. Meetings Thursday, Friday. Here for the weekend. Last meetings on Monday, and then they went to their next stop, which I think was Atlanta. Yeah, I don't remember where they were going after.
And they had perhaps 2 or 3 cities that they visited.
Yeah,
Always
they've been first to
Washington, D.C.
then Burlington, New York. Then they came to us, and then they went.
Oh, fantastic.
I think it was Atlanta.
And there
I'm
could
not sure.
be lasting relationships with them.
Yes.
They have a good mindset about what New
Yeah.
Mexico, well, I'm sure it opened their eyes,
Yes.
Melora, what the United States is, because most of the time they think it's
Yeah.
New York
Yeah,
and
it does.
D.C.
And then I think that's what also so many of our participants appreciate is, yes, that's the image they get. And so they come here and they go, oh, wow. One, most of them have no idea about the Native American influence here. And so New Mexico is so unique in that way. And so many times they're like, wow, I had no idea. And just, they do see Americans. You know?
What I learned, I'd worked in El Paso before coming to Albuquerque, that a lot of Germans, a lot of Europeans, of course, the Air Force Base in El Paso attracted a lot of Germans, and here in New Mexico as well. But a lot of Europeans come to the Southwest because of the Westerns that
Yes.
they used to see in the old movies.
Oh, we get it every time. This time, we wanted to do a Breaking Bad tour, and you're like, no, please. But yeah, Breaking Bad is still well known all around the world.
Oh, that beats us out to the Westerns that used to be, I guess, decades ago.
Right.
But they would know the United
Yes,
States, and they know
exactly.
D.C. and New York,
Yeah.
and then the cowboys
Yeah.
they're looking for. And that's what we offer them here in New Mexico
Exactly,
and in Texas. So that was a successful group. But again, our Albuquerqueans, learn as much from the visitors as they learn from us.
Yes, yeah. It's a great
Fantastic.
experience.
Very nice. What other groups have you had?
Well, another one I want to talk about is really quite, it just feels very satisfying. It was the same program. It was called the Young Transatlantic International Leadership Initiative. And this is working with predominantly Central Europe, so it would be the Balkan states and all the way up to Austria, Switzerland, so Slovenia, Kosovo, all of those. And this would have been 2023. We had a group, it's going to be 5 fellows. Again, they're all going to be young professionals that have started their own companies. That was one of the criteria. And we're coming to the United States to expand or learn more. And there was a woman by the name of Miriam Torreson, who is from Armenia. And she had started an app called Safe You, which is an app against domestic violence. And so how it works is someone who is basically living in domestic violence puts the app on their phone, which is totally, what's the word I want, inconspicuous. And it basically automatically puts their contact information, goes directly to the police, goes directly to the sheriff. So if they have an incident, all they have to do is push a button on their phone. It automatically starts recording, and it automatically sends a message to their safe person and or the police, whatever they decide to do. And so Miriam had launched this program in Armenia. She also had launched it in France, where she won a Cartier Foundation Award for it. And she came to Albuquerque. And here in Albuquerque, she launched this app through the help of the DVRC, Domestic Violence Resource Center. She launched this app, which is now being used by the APD and the Bernalillo County for domestic violence. It's being, communicated to domestic violence victims to say, here is an app that is available for you. So the whole system is now in there. And this is the only place so far in the United States that she launched that app.
Because she came here as a fellow.
Because she came here as a fellow. Yeah.
Was her intention to launch it here, or she just...
Yeah, I think she was looking to launch it in the United States. I don't know if she intended to launch it in Albuquerque, but this is where her fellowship came, and she did. And she's come back a couple times to continue that initiative. And, so these are really rewarding. You realize that you really are affecting change and impacting the world with good things by doing this. And I think the more and more that we can open our doors to other people, share with them, just as Kennedy envisions, that's how you build peace and prosperity.
Because otherwise it's a little provincial,
Yeah. Well, we have this attitude about people, and when you get to know each other one-on-one, you do realize that no matter what our political differences or societal or cultural differences, at our heart, many of us have the same objectives. And that is, we want to do good in the world and help people.
World peace, because it all affects us. I mean,
Exactly.
world peace certainly affects all of us. But
Yeah.
just on one-on-one, it can start as basic. And it may be surprising that, for decades now, people have been coming here.
Yeah.
Do we see them on the streets? Like I said, we see our movie stars on the streets, but how do we
Well, they're
recognize-
out there. I mean, they're usually on a transport, on a transport shuttle bus, but they do go to restaurants, and you're pretty much going to know that they are not American, because oftentimes they speak different languages. But yeah, we're out there. Just,
They may see them.
Yeah.
How can the public get involved in this program in Global Ties
well,
Albuquerque?
we do have members. You can go to globaltiesabq.org and learn to be a membership. It's a pretty low membership. It's a minimum of $60 a year. And with that, for our members, they have first access. So I said, if these people come and they're staying for an evening, a lot of times we're asked to open up for what we call home hosting, which is how I got involved with the organization, because it was kind of my way to keep my toe in the international waters. So I started having people to my house for dinner. I'm having a group over on Saturday for green chili, macaroni and cheese.
Lucky them.
Yes,
Lucky
yes.
them.
So our members can host them for dinners. I also do, if we have a large group that's going to be here on a weekend, we try to do picnics or other events that our members can get involved. Our members also, we say, ride on the bus. They can ride along with the group whenever they want. If there's a particular topic that they're interested in, or a particular group from one country, they can come from one country, many countries. If a member wants to just tag along, they're more than welcome to do that.
And you have volunteers as well?
We do use volunteers. We don't usually need them that often, but sometimes for their programming help, or some just helping us with the basic tasks of running our organization. Yes.
Oh, how exciting. For $60, they can be a part of
Yes.
World Peace
Yes,
by
exactly.
signing up and hosting and escorting and visiting.
Exactly.
How wonderful. Again, how do they reach you?
globaltiesabq.org. Our phone number's on there. Well, just shoot us an email, and we'll follow up with you.
So again, thank you, Melora Palmer,
you.
the Executive Director of Global Ties ABQ. She's going to be on another show to talk more stories about the visitors who come here. So again, if you don't have the money and time to go abroad, you might have $60 to become a member of Global Ties ABQ and let abroad come to you. Thanks for watching the show. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Issues and Answers with your host Diane Kinderwater is presented as a public service to inform, educate, and better the lives of New Mexicans. To comment on today's program, email us at info@kchftv.org or call us at 505-345-1991. Join us again for Issues and Answers with Diane Kinderwater.